Hi everybody and welcome back to the Upside Dan. I am super stoked to talk about episode 5 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This is the penultimate episode of this season. Again, as always, this is going to be a spoiler-filled recap and review of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So let's get right into it. Episode 5 is titled Truth. Sam Wilson, Bucky Barnes, Baron Zemo, John Walker, and Karli Morgenthau must all deal with the fallout from their actions. I was super stoked for this episode because I've said stoked 2 times in this video and I never say stoked. Don't know what's happening, but I love this episode. For the most part, I'll say I love this episode. We'll get into that. After that chilling image from the end of last week's episode with John Walker just standing there with the shield, looking all stoic, but there was blood on the shield. It's just such a chilling image, and it's been stuck in my mind since watching that episode. But that got me even more pumped for this episode. We only have one more episode left, guys. So we jump right into this episode. John Walker goes to some warehouse, and Sam and Bucky come and confront him. Sam's trying to talk him down. Sam's trying to, reason with him and talk with him. But Sam asks for the shield. John Walker's like, you don't want to do this. Bucky's like, yeah, we do. And then a fight breaks out, and this is such an epic fight. This is my favorite scene from this episode. I absolutely loved this fight. The fight choreography was really well done. The action scene was just well shot, well directed, well written. They all fought with valor, and they fought for what they thought was right. John Walker is angry, and the serum is not making it any better. So he thinks what he's doing is right. He even says a couple times, why are you making me do this? Which is so chilling. You see the bloody shield again in this episode, of course. It's just so chilling with the dried blood on it. Ooh. And like that guy that he killed, I was a fan and still am a big fan of Captain America. And, it's just, it's like, it's haunting to see this Captain America do this stuff. But I gotta get to Wyatt Russell. Wyatt Russell is spectacular here. And I've liked him really since the show. I know his characters, he's kind of a love-to-hate kind of guy. He's great at playing a character that we're supposed to hate, but kind of also feel bad for. At least I do. I know, maybe not in this episode, but, he's a great, fleshed-out character. He's flawed. He wants to do the right thing. But this serum is not bringing out the best in him. Wyatt Russell does absolutely extraordinary. Get this man some recognition, please. The fight's great. He gets down, he gets both of them on the ground. They get him down. They have the upper hand. He has the upper hand. They're trying to take this shield from him. He's like, I am Captain America. And to get his shield, they break his arm. Which was such a great scene. This is, Marvel is pushing the envelope with this series, with this action, I think at least. Great opening scene. Then we get, they get the shield, and we get to the opening title sequence. So Taurus comes to talking to them that someone above their pay grade is taking over, and he actually gets to keep the wings. As Sam's leaving Taurus, he's just like, keep them, the wings. And then there was a shot here and a shot a little later where it seemed like someone might have been watching them. So I'm wondering if someone's watching them, or is that just the shot that they chose? It'll be interesting to find out. I'm actually a fan of Torres. I know he hasn't had much, obviously. But maybe him keeping the wings is setting up for something, because I know in the comic books he becomes a hero. I'm not sure who. I'm really not versed in the comic books for the most part. But I'm excited to see what comes of that. Then we get to John Walker's, sentence. He's in his military uniform. His wife is there. He's stripped of all Captain America duties, and he will not be getting any benefits from the army. Of course, he thinks what he did was right. And yeah, in some ways, yes, there was a bad guy, but still, you don't murder someone in cold blood in the broad daylight, especially when you're supposed to be Captain America. So he's stripped of all that. He does yell at the guy. He's yelling back. He's like, I understand that. And he still says, I'm Captain America. And he's like, not anymore. And then he's like talking down to John Walker. John Walker just walks out, and he's like, get that. And the guy's like, please get that shield back to us with haste, or something like that. Then we get a scene with John Walker, his wife, and then a surprise guest. So John Walker's like to his wife, they just don't understand what it is what it's like to be Captain America, which has been a struggle for this character for this whole show, and I love that struggle. It gives so much depth to John Walker, and Wyatt Russell's just extraordinary at playing this character. I really think that it would be so believable, and if Wyatt Russell played like a serial killer, a mass murderer, someone like that, or in a horror movie, you know, a horror movie villain, or just a villain, I think that he just has that, I don't know, that look, that face, that personality, and you see him, you know, his acting chops in this episode especially, and last episode of course, and he can do it, he can pull it off. Wyatt Russell's a really good actor. Then we get a cameo from Julie Louis-Dreyfus, who I guess was supposed to really get her first cameo in, or cameo, I don't know if it's a cameo, but in Black Widow, I guess she was really supposed to be seen first there. But this was her first appearance now because of COVID, you know, release dates switched around. And it was a pleasant surprise. You know, I didn't get my hopes up because I know we heard, oh, there's a big cameo in episode 5, and this was it. But I didn't get my hopes up, so I wasn't let down at all. I'm a fan of her. I think she's funny, I think she's talented, and it means it's going to bring something interesting to the rest of the MCU, I think, who she is. Because I know she's one of the comic books, like I said, I don't know much about it, but I have really liked this introduction of this character. Her name is Valentina Allegra DeFontaine. You can call her Val, just not to her face. Then we get a quick scene with the Flag Smashers and Kari. You know, they're realizing that the government and, you know, whatever is raiding these places that they used to, you know, of their followers, of the people that used to help them. They're raiding these places. They're not happy, obviously. Kari's just like, how many of us has to die just to live on this earth or something like that? So she's mad, obviously. And again, though, I connected with them last week a little. I did, and I like Kari. I mean, I do think that Erin Kellerman is a really good actress. Just other than last week, I have not been connecting to Kari or the Flag Smashers, and this one's kind of just back to, oh, they get a couple scenes, and you don't really get much from them. So I hope that episode 6 brings more to these characters and kind of brings it around full circle, and hopefully, you know, closes this story, gives it good closure, or if it's going to continue on, give it a good point of continuation. Then we get a part we saw in the trailer, Zemo at his family's memorial, or at least a memorial in Sokovia. I'm guessing it's his family, obviously. And then Bucky shows up. Zemo's like, oh, I thought you would have been here sooner. Zemo was like, I decided not to kill you. Bucky was like, imagine my relief. I really liked that line. Zemo is like mentioning, oh, he crossed the name off of Bucky's, you know, off of Bucky's list in his book. He doesn't hold any grudges. Bucky does point the gun at him, but he has the bullets in his hand, as he also saw in the trailer. And then the Dora Milaje come, and they take him away. I was like, it would be wise of you, White Wolf, to, you know, stay clear of Wakanda for the time being. They're going to take him to the raft, whatever that is. I don't know much about that. And to live out his days. So he'll be at the raft, I'm guessing, in Wakanda to live out his days. And she just tells Bucky just to stay clear. Then Bucky says, while she's walking away, wait, can I ask one more favor? And then that scene cuts. I do hope we see more of Zemo and the Dora Milaje next episode, but I don't know if we will. It seems like that might be the end for this show. I mean, obviously they're going to show up in the future of the MCU. I really hope Zemo's going to show up in the future of the MCU, because then I was a little let down then by their storylines, by both of their, you know, the Dora Milaje and Zemo's storylines here. Hopefully they show up in the final episode. Maybe they won't. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to seeing more of them, even if it's not in the next episode, in the future of the MCU. Then we get such a emotional, raw, powerful scene. Sam goes back with the shield in the bag to go see Isaiah. Eli's outside playing basketball with his friend. He's like, oh, what are you doing here, basically? And he's like, oh, I'm just going to see, you know, your grandfather. And he's like, all right, right back there. I'll be back there. And Sam's like, yeah. Then we get that emotional scene. Just a great scene with great dialogue. I think it was just so well crafted, this scene. The dialogue, the acting, you know, the directing, the cinematography, the writing. It was just really well crafted and just superbly put together, really. And this is where the show really touches more on the racial issues and the racial issues that come with the history of Captain America and the future of Captain America. Which, as I said, I'm glad that these shows are digging deeper into these characters' psyches, you know, and they're digging deeper into these topics like racism, and like WandaVision did. I know it's not the same thing, but like with grief and loss. They're really digging in well, I think. And I think that these shows are the perfect platform. Disney Plus is the perfect platform to dive into these characters and these stories. You know, you can't see all of this on the big screen because the movies can be only so long and show so many characters. But we get that here, and I definitely appreciate it. This was an amazing scene. Carl Lumbly is fantastic as Isaiah Bradley. I just love him, and I hope I bet we will see more of him in the future of the MCU, maybe even next episode. I just, that's my hope. I really want to see more of him because I think he's just doing a great job. So some of the lines, in this scene are just great. Like, he's like, those stars and stripes don't mean nothing good to me. And he, that's what Isaiah says to Sam when Sam's about to take the shield out of the bag. Which I just liked that line, it just speaks so much, these lines, on the racial issues. Racial issues of the past, present, and the future. And he says, if you ain't bitter, you blind. Which is such a, it's a gut punch of a line, really. Isaiah is talking to Sam inside now, and he says, he's giving him his backstory. He said he had a bunch of friends that they tested on and they sent out into battle to do experiments on, and so many of them died because it didn't work. The serum didn't work. They were told that it was just a tetanus shot. And they just covered up the evidence, as he said. And then he's like, the evidence, those were human beings. Those were my friends, my brothers, my family. Such a powerful, powerful scene. And then he said they experimented on me afterwards to see why it worked. So they didn't care, about these black men and women. I'm not sure if it might have been just men, but I don't know. So these black, the black race, the black people, they purposely were like, oh, let's pick them. Let's test on them. Let's experiment on them. Who cares, basically, if they die, if they're tortured, if they're in pain, who cares? That's how they thought, and that's just so heartbreaking. Literally right now, my heart's like breaking because it's a sad scene. And it rings true to America, unfortunately, because there's still just so much racism in the world, and it's definitely unfortunate. He said they erased me, they erased my history, but they've been doing that for 500 years. And he said, pledge allegiance to that, my brother. And such, again, raw scene, very emotional, very powerful. I think that the MCU is doing a great job bringing these issues to light. He said they will never let a black man be Captain America. And even if they did, no self-respecting black man would ever want to do it. Just speaks volumes again. So great scene, as I've said a million times. And then we get, Sam walks out. He calls Sarah. He's like, I'm coming home. We get more of the boat stuff, Sam's home stuff. Bucky comes and helps out. He's flirting with Sarah. It's a funny scene, and it does show more into the character. I wish that we were focusing on something other than a boat, but I understand the meaning of it. That it shows, his connection to a family life, a personal life, which we'll get to a line a little later that Sarah and him, during a conversation with Sarah and him about the fight elsewhere and here. It is important for the characters, but I just wish with 6 episodes, we maybe focused a little more on other aspects of this show. Then we get a really touching scene again with John and Lamar's family. John visits Lamar's family. He's in a cast because they broke his arm. And just really well acted by the family and, of course, by Wyatt. He says with such conviction that that guy that he killed did kill Lamar. And earlier in the fight with Sam and Bucky, he says he killed Lamar, even though they said, no, he didn't, because it was Carly. We saw Carly do it. He saw Carly do it. He even screamed, where is she, after the guy that he killed when he was running after him. It's interesting to see. Maybe he's so messed up in the brain. I think he's just trying to feel good about himself. Oh yes, he's the one that killed, until he can kill Carly. So, and then I think he's going to go after Carly somehow, and I do, because he made a promise now to the family, and they even said, oh, Lamar would be so proud of you knowing that that man was brought to justice, but technically that man wasn't the one that killed him, so now it's really Carly, so he's going to want to go after Carly and really bring, Lamar, his best friend, his brother, to justice. I love that we're getting more of their, friendship. I think that they have a really good brotherhood. And it's sad that we saw Lamar leave so early in the MCU in general, because I wanted more of him. I wanted more of this friendship, but it pushed John Walker overboard in a lot of ways, and obviously the serum didn't help. So he tells the family, yes, it was him. They hug. They say he meant Lamar. You meant so much to Lamar. Lamar would tell me how proud of you he was and how proud he was to be your partner. He says, before he leaves, he's like, if you guys ever need anything, just let me know. John leaves Lamar's family. Then we get a quick scene with Sharon on the phone. We really, since the 3rd episode, we don't get much of Sharon in this show. I'm hoping that she'll be more prominent in the finale. I'm pretty sure she will, because we haven't seen her much. She's on the phone with Batroc, you know, the bad guy from Captain America and also from the Captain America movies, but also, I think he was only in one. But also from the pilot episode of this show, the guy in the helicopter, you know, that Sam couldn't quite beat. But so she's on the phone with him, and she said, the reward will be much bigger this time. And she's like, I'm pretty sure you're going to want to do it. So Sharon is looking more sus by the minute. Definitely looking forward to what they have in store for her character and what reveals we get in the future. I liked this scene because it was so simple but surreal, but we have Bucky waking up and, you know, Sam's nephews are playing with the shield, pretending to be Captain America. It's surreal because it's like in real life when Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, played Black Panther. He was the first, you know, big black superhero. On screen, he was someone, a role model that not just black kids, but I mean, well, all races, all ages really looked up to and could see as themselves. So they finally had a superhero that was like them. So this kind of reminded me of a little, you know, simpler version of that. They were just playing with the shield, imagining a world where they can be like that they can be the hero, that they can be awesome, that they can be helpful, a superhero. So it was a good moment. Bucky has a smile on his face, but he's like, hey, and then they run off. But I just really liked that little moment. And then we get a little moment later when when one of them outlines the star on the shield while Sam is, you know, training. Really good little moments here. We get them more working on the boat, Sam and Bucky. Working on the boat, Sarah comes. Sarah's like, I don't go up to the sky and tell you how to do a barrel roll or whatever, so don't tell me how to do things down here or whatever. Sam and Bucky leave, and then we get a good training montage, kind of little montage. Not a montage really, a training scene with Sam and Bucky throwing around the shield like we've seen parts in the trailer. They have a really good, you know, talk where you can really see their friendship forming more. Sam is like, you gotta stop letting people tell you who you are, or expecting people to tell you who you are, which is just true. And Bucky, you know, he said in an earlier episode, he was like, well, Steve was wrong about you, he was wrong about me. And yes, Steve is a great role model and one of their best friends, and their best friend, really. But you can't keep letting everyone else, no matter how awesome they are, tell you who you are. You have to find that out for yourself. He said, I've been making amends. He's like, Sam's like, you weren't amending, you were avenging. He says, you got to go to them. You got to be of service. You help them. You don't just try to avenge yourself. Amend their wrongdoings. And he says, you know, I'm sure there's at least one person in that book that needs closure. And Bucky's like, yeah, probably it doesn't. And Sam's like, cool, start with one. Just good advice. A very good moment. You know, a simple moment between these two actors who are very talented. Then we get the Sam and Sarah talk that I talked about a little earlier. I really liked this talk. They decide, first of all, not to sell the boat. He was about to paint over it, but they don't. Sarah said, at no point in my life did I ever think you were running away. Not even at the bank. Just kind of messing with you. Which was such a good sibling talk. She said, there's a fight out there, and there's our fight here, and you're taking on both of them, bro. And Sam is like, even though Isaiah said, don't take up the shield, don't take up, you know, the position, you know, of Captain America. Don't take up that mantle. He says that, yes, Isaiah went through a lot, and he understands Isaiah, and if he went through all that, he would definitely understand. He says, what would be the point of all that pain and sacrifice if I wasn't willing to stand up and keep fighting? Then we get an action, you know, montage with the shield, him training with the shield, throwing it around, doing push-ups, running, exercising, just testing himself, testing his abilities with that shield. A very cool montage. You saw, I think, part of it in the trailers, but it was really good. And then this is where we get, you know, one of his nephews outlining the star and the shield, which was pretty inspirational. Then we get to a park. Carly's sitting there. She's like, I've hired someone to help or whatever. Batroc comes in, which is interesting because the last time Sharon was talking to him just a few scenes ago. So Batroc comes in, you know, one of Carly's followers, like, oh, so we're villains now. Or bad guys, yeah. And she's like, well, haven't you heard? We are villains, at least in their eyes. And they say, but we always have people around, even if you don't know where they are. And she does the phone, you know, call out thing. These people get the texts. They're all there. She's held back out. You're going to have your, you know, time to kill Sam. That's really all he's interested in, killing Sam. Then we get to the GRC vote, which is in New York City. And Sam realizes, of course, that that's Carly's next, you know, point of hit. Because, you know, I think Torres calls and says there's a ping in New York City now. Sam realizes that it, you know, that's where the GRC vote is. Then we get to the GRC vote scene, and, you know, the power goes off and the computers are glitching and everything, and the lights are weird. And then we get to Sam, and he opens up the container Bucky brought earlier from Wakanda, Bucky's favor. And we don't get to see it yet, but Sam's looking at the container and kind of feeling inspired, it looks like. Feeling strong, feeling heroic. And that is where the episode cuts off. Cut to credits. Really good ending. Definitely got me intrigued for the finale. And to see that suit, WandaVision, you know, Wanda's suit was amazing. I'm sure this suit is going to be great and epic, and the fights are going to be epic. I can't wait for the finale. But we're not done actually yet. We get to an end credit scene, and we hear hammering, similar, you know, tonally, you know, sound-wise, with, I mean, obviously it's hammering, but sound-wise it's tonally, you know, the same as like Iron Man when he was building his suit, and how we saw at the end of Endgame, well, heard at the end of Endgame, no credit scene at the end of Endgame, just the hammering. So you hear that, and then you see John Walker, he's building a new shield. I don't know what he's expecting to do with that. I don't know if he knows that the shield's so special because it's vibranium. I doubt he has vibranium. But we'll see what happens in the finale. Are you guys excited for the finale of season 1? Because we don't know if there's going to be more. Of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Let me know down in the comment sections what's your favorite episode. Okay, so I will say I definitely liked episode 4 better. But I think 5 is probably my second favorite, or maybe 3. I don't know. But, you know, it's definitely been picking up. The first 2 were okay, I thought, and I think it's got better, like 1, 2, 3, it had gotten better, 4 gotten way better, and then 5 was still good, still great, but not as good as 4. I still think, though, and I'm excited for the finale, and I am thinking about this show more, especially with that bloody shield, just has been staying in my mind. But still, I don't feel that connection. I don't feel that connected to Kari and the Flag Smashers. Last episode helped a lot. I like Kari. And I obviously think Arian's a good actress. I don't know. I don't know what it is about the Flag Smashers. For the most part, they're missing something. But I definitely like them more now, don't get me wrong. I don't love this show overall, but I love certain parts of it. But what do you think of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Do you love this show? Are you about it? Do you not like it? What's been your favorite episode so far? Let me know down in that comment section. Please. What performances are your favorite? What characters do you love? What characters do you not like? What characters aren't you feeling connected with? Let me know. Please, please comment down below. If you liked this video, you're going to like something around here. So please click around here to see more. Like this video, comment on this video, share this video and my channel with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier and the MCU fans in your life. Hit that notification bell. Subscribe and come to the Upside Dan.